Coachella Valley, and welcome to Live with your Chamber of Commerce. My name is Katie Stice, CEO at the Rancho Mirage Chamber, and today we're actually welcoming in someone who likely you already know. If you don't, stay tuned and learn a little bit more about Bob Marra. He's been in business leadership in the Coachella Valley for 25 years plus. You probably have seen his name associated with Wheeler's Market Intelligence, the public record. He's done so much, and he's really seeing a need in this valley to do even more in a new way. So let's talk a little bit about this new project and bring in our guest today. Hey, Bob, welcome to the show.
Hi, Katie. Thank you. Good to be on with you. I really appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you and talk about what I'm up to and what the Chamber's doing and all the fun stuff we see in business these days.
Absolutely. And we can really use help with someone out there like yourself putting together data for the business community so we can really understand trends, what's happening in our valley. Talk a little bit about the new project that you're working on.
So this actually kind of goes back to Rancho Mirage in 1999 when I had the chance. I just started my public relations and marketing firm, and then had the opportunity through a relationship I had developed with Hans Dubach, and Mary Sue Dubach, who owned Wheeler's Desert Letter. They called it Wheeler's Desert Letter, but it was I switched the name. And so they said, "You were our best customer all these years. You bought everything we published, and you used our consulting services, and so we've got a new granddaughter, and we want to be with her. And so, do you want to buy the business?" And so they were operating out of an office back behind Eric's Furniture on 111, and so I bought it and recast the company and turned it into Wheeler's Market Intelligence, and ran with it for better part of 15 years. And then along the way had another chance to buy a business, which was the public record. So what was happening was, I had a PR agency doing marketing for large companies around town, and I always wanted to, assess the market, know what's going on, what's happening. So I kept on doing that with the Dubachs, then bought the business. So I had this information. And I can remember Hans's voice, his Austrian accent, saying, just the facts, don't editorialize. And so I always wanted to, because I'm getting all this data, right? So I'm analyzing the data on housing, on the tourism sector, on agriculture, you name it. I was looking at it, counting it, quantifying it, and presenting it to people. The opportunity to buy the public record came up. So I thought, I'm seeing all these things happening, informs me on what to write about. So the short story is I'm creating that all again with an incredibly creative name. Instead of Wheelers, I'm going with Marra. So, there was a guy named George Wheeler who was in the forefront of development in Palm Springs, but he wasn't the developer. He was kind of like the person that was selling the implements to the gold miners that were doing the developments. And so he created Wheeler's Desert Letter back in the 60s in Palm Springs. And so I figured I would change that now and start fresh with Marra Market Intelligence.
I like it. Very good. And it's needed. I can remember back in the day, working with chambers for many years, you would come to our business breakfast or events and really start to break down the data and explain to the business community, here's a trend we really need to keep an eye on, or here are some issues that are hindering us from growth. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that. What do you see kind of for the future, number one, of what you're going to be producing for the Valley? Maybe we can talk a little bit about how people can get involved. And then, of course, do you have insight as to the climate right now? Kind of a loaded question.
Well, lots of things there. How much time do we have? Here's the thing. So I'm just always been a curious person about data and analysis. And so I'm not the kind of person that can just hear from realtors that it's hot as a firecracker out there right now, that inventory is the lowest possible. I can go back to my data, which I have, and it's up to date, and see that 2,000-ish or less existing homes on the market is an anomaly. It's incredibly low. It's an all-time record. and that you're hearing people getting in bidding wars. And so then sometimes I hear people saying, well, it's because all these telecommuters are fleeing Los Angeles and Orange County, and they want to come and work for their companies away from there. And then I think, not so sure about that. So I'm the kind of one who just wants to dig in and find out. So I'm in the process. I'm calling the realtors. I'm calling the new home builders and talking about it and saying, who is buying the houses? I mean, it always comes down to that with housing. So this is just one sector, right? Who's buying the houses? And so we're learning about that and getting an understanding of it. And, perhaps it's just the dynamic of crazy low interest rates. 2.75 interest on a $500,000 house isn't as scary as 5% mortgage, right? And so these dynamics are always happening. And so Wheeler's Market Intelligence, the data, the analysis, that is something that we present information and data in a newsletter format. We'll be starting on November 1st with a twice a month newsletter. So, that's just one example. So I'm curious about data and analysis and understanding what's going on. Kind of like you put together a list of companies that are, that went out of business. And I love that kind of stuff. So let's quantify things. Yep. And then try to talk about how the impacts pan out on different categories. So that's really it. So A to Z on this economy, from agriculture to tourism to housing, what's happening through the development pipeline. I mean, that's always a great indicator. So I've been cranking away full speed on all the city council and planning commission architectural review agendas to see what's the pipeline of new development, and how real is it, and has it been approved, and if it's approved, contacting these developers and saying, are you going to do it? And so when you do this in each of those categories, it kind of positions me in a good spot to be able to talk about the future and the current economic conditions, as opposed to just reading the Wall Street Journal and making assumptions.
Right. And how far are you into that conversation? Is there any idea of what you can give us and anyone who's out there watching now about development and projects moving forward? Are you seeing that maybe starting to happen at this point?
Well, yes, I am. In fact, I was Desert Valley's Builders Association had a once a month conference call on legislative affairs, where they have people from around the desert, even special districts like the water agencies and so forth, and talk about what's going on. And I have to say, in numerous cases, the representative of the city or the district said, wow, we have a lot going on. Well, there's a lot going on in, fill in the blank. Mm-hmm. And so these are people that have been around here for a while, for the most part, and they know what normal is here. And so I think what we're seeing is, there are always people with cash, and there are always people with assets like land and the capability to develop things. And so money is really cheap now. So I feel like the development that is in the pipeline is good, smart development, because it is a cautious time period, but the people that have these assets and these capabilities aren't going to get risk too much, right? Whereas back when we were in 2007, 2008, I was on interviews like this, shouting from the rooftops, this can't happen. This is not real. You can't have, a family with a bank teller and a engineer at the city buy a $450,000 house and then put a HELOC on it, and that makes sense. Yeah. And so I'm not seeing that now. So I'm seeing caution in many cases on all these different projects. I think the viable things are moving forward, and those that are like maybe a surf park, where you get people together, and these types of projects that have been talked about a lot are like hold. And then the smart projects that have demand, that will have it, that makes sense, that they can do with cheap money, are moving forward.
Do you have any feedback about, or have you, in your investigation so far, learned anything more about broadband and the capacity out here in the Valley?
Well, yeah, it's funny you mention that. I've actually have been in the process of trying to get a project started where we're doing a comprehensive analysis of the Coachella Valley in terms of broadband. And so when you're looking at broadband, everything matters related to it. So we've got three core elements. We've got the digital divide, where you have the haves and have-nots, and no more apparent is that right now than with the school district. So we can spend $4 million on computers and give them to kids that are at their homes with no internet service or not even any access, limited capabilities. So that's one element. And then there's digital literacy. We don't want to fall behind on knowledge of how to utilize the Internet of Things and to implement it into our systems, into our education process. And then you have the big industries that just need more juice. And I'm out there talking about that, the need for speed. And so this region, prosperity is in part determined by technological capabilities. And so the answer to the question is we're behind. Yeah. We're not where we need to be. We have two core providers out there, right? We have Verizon, Frontier that bought the assets from Verizon, and we've got Spectrum. And they're not, and so they're going through the motions of expanding when it's beneficial, but they've got to run the business. And so the good news is, I've been studying this throughout the summer as well. There are many communities around the country that have found real smart solutions to, either work with the providers that are there or create their own entities. And most every case that I've seen where fiber was produced and implemented in a public-private partnership, it's gone like well beyond the goals and the expectations. So hopefully we can set the table for something like that in the desert. It's an important topic. It's not going to go away, and us being behind is going to only be worse for us.
Sure. And it's definitely a hindrance for businesses that are looking to move, right? And so they're going to be looking at that first and foremost. And if we don't measure up, they're going to go to a different area. There's just no wiggle room, and there's no doubt about it. As beautiful as it is here, I mean, they have to be able to get their business done at the end of the day. Wow, just incredible information. And if folks did want to connect with you and learn more, your launch is going to be November 1st, and maybe what we can do is have you back on at that point, and maybe you can kind of take us through the website at that point, and we can kind of look at some of the articles and information.
Love to do it, and so it's in final development right now. And so one thing I'd like to say is that there are really two segments of this business. One is the market intelligence, the data, the newsletter, the annual reports about demographics and the different sectors of this economy, and the non-editorialized information, right, that'll come out twice a month that people can subscribe to. But in addition, my new version of the public record, because I sold the public record, and the emphasis there is not on the latest business news and digging into things and curating content. So what I'll be doing is producing what's called a GPS for Greater Palm Springs, GPS Business Insider. And that, what people can expect is 4 to 5 articles per week for the foreseeable future about these different things we're talking about. I've got an article coming on broadband. I've got an article in process about this housing situation, both the existing and the new housing, who's doing what. And I've got relationships around town so I can make calls, get information, and it's the latest, and it's what's really happening. So that will be a free service for people to consume. And so I just feel like, especially for chamber members that are the normal chamber, not your biggest hotels or the city or whatever, but the smaller companies, which is the backbone of this community and most communities around the country, I want to give a voice, for an opportunity for them to get the word out and to talk about what they're doing and to be a part of this business news, because it just doesn't really exist now, not with continuity.
Correct.
The chambers are doing more business news than the media is here. And I'm not knocking anybody. I'm just saying the decisions have been made, and that's the way it's been. And so I see this opportunity to really have a business news portal here online with recurring curated information based on what's really happening, and being a partner with the business community to help tell our story, to help share information, and to make it consistent and viable for people, rather than what we have now, which is not much to get the word out.
No, and And I could not agree more. Chambers have really become, marketing agencies and news sources because our businesses are just trying to get by. And so they almost needed someone to help filter information and get it to them. But the other area, as we move into the future, is this recovery is going to be a lot. We don't even know how long it's going to be because we're
Right.
still in the crisis mode. And so the more intel that you're going to create and put out into the community, information is certainly power, and it'll really help our businesses and give folks a lot more direction. So I know we're looking forward to it. And you mentioned that business closure list earlier. One of the things we really would like to see, we just are lacking some manpower, but with all of those business closures, we're editing this list regularly. We want to see all of the jobs that are attached to that business that are also missing out. So every business might, if they have 25 employees, maybe those 25 employees have lost their jobs, but there's countless vendors that are attached to that one business that are affected as well. So we're really trying to collect that information to give a really good overview for our legislators, for our community, so that we can get some attention. So we
Yeah,
just appreciate
that's good.
everything you're doing. Go ahead.
It's good what you're doing. And on the other hand, we want to see when the green sprouts are coming up, as we say, right,
Mhm.
for businesses opening up and who they are, and
Right.
to put them out in front and how many employees they're hiring and what the impact is. And so I tend to be, well, not tend, I purposely look for the positive, right? And
Right.
that was one of Hans's things. Oh, glass half full, look for what it is. But on the data, it is what it is. But
Right.
when it comes to, looking at the positive. So when I had the public record, I would always say, it's not going to be about gotcha journalism or who did this or who's suing whom and, what bad things are happening. You've got to cover the reality the way it is, but you can also be looking for positive. And so that's going to be part of my focus, is to find positive things that
Yes.
are going on in our economy, in our business community, and try to shine a light on it and support people, and just provide information. And so I don't have the burdens of a giant newspaper with a printing press, whether
Right.
it's here or not, or a newsroom or those things. But I do have expertise in what's been going on in this region, who the players are. We have 9 separate cities, but it's a manageable process to understand what's going on and then to report it to people. And but if it's not a two-way street, if I'm just pushing information,
Right.
that's not good. That's not good for anybody. So I want to be a partner with your chamber and all others, and do what we can to really show what's going on. And then people can have confidence that that what I'm providing really represents, as accurately as possible what's happening out there, whether it's positive or negative. And we can try to see the end of this thing,
Right.
and see where the best opportunities. And so on the market intelligence side of things, people in the past, when I had it up and running before and back again, would hire me to look at something specific, and do a consulting
Mhm.
project to say, what is the viability of new housing here in the desert, given what's in the competitive set right now,
Mhm.
things like that. And so we have the ability to help people make decisions. Really, you need the most, especially now, right? There's tons of
Right.
information about the COVID stats. It'd be crazy not to be able to find them within 3 minutes,
Of
and
course.
it needs to be out there and everything. But my focus will be on what's happening in this economy, what's going on in
Yes.
business, and then people can hopefully make smart decisions based on what's really happening.
The timing of it again is incredible, and it's needed through and moving, ahead after this time. I mean, your timing really is impeccable because it's necessary. So I appreciate your time today coming on and sharing a little bit with us. I feel like it's breaking news because I just got to talk to you recently about it.
Yeah.
And thank you for making the time to come on and share. And we'd love to have you back, in early November just to share what that business insider looks like, and start to break down maybe when some of those articles and how people can get involved. Because if there are folks out there who are watching who are interested in being a partner or a sponsor or want to jump on board with you, we want to make sure we get that information out as well.
Let's do it. That sounds like a great idea. And yeah, to be able to get a dialogue going and to show people how to get in touch with me, send me their information,
Yep.
and all of those things. It's going to be great. But thanks for the time today. And I'll be hard at work every day until we launch, and then it only gets more work from there. But
There you
that's good
go.
stuff.
Well, we'll definitely be in touch. Take care of yourself, and we look forward to seeing you in November. Thank
Okay,
you. All
Katie. Thanks so much. Keep up the
right.
great work.
Hey, thanks so much. Will do. And thanks for joining us today on Live with Your Chamber. Some great information, and again, really timely. If you're watching out there, let me know where you're watching from, what city you're watching from. If you know of Bob and his work already in the community, make a comment. Let me know how. This is going to be a game changer for our area, no doubt. Until next time, take care of yourself. Be well. We'll see you again.